Years ago, the media could really do and say anything, and you believe them. I mean, myself included. You saw a headline and you only saw one side of that picture. You saw a picture, say, of somebody in the, Sunday newspapers, and there was a splash headline, and you thought, right. And careers were broken based on that. Of course, with everything, there's two sides to every single story. And what you find now with these salacious headlines that people are trying to put out there is it's very easy to find out if you are a person like myself in the know. And that's exactly what I've done regarding this particular story. As ever, let me explain. Morning, chums. Nice to see you. Thank you so much for joining me today in the very heart of London. Hope you're keeping well, whatever you're doing. And yes, welcome, one and all. We'll have a nice, lovely, yes, a cheery wave today. Are you keeping well? Has the weather getting you fed up already because it's suddenly changing? Not for the better, is it? I know. That's the thing. I'm now thinking it's time for the coat, chums. Yes, it's just getting a little bit chillier. But you know when you think you're resisting because you just don't want to go down that route, it definitely means the end, doesn't it, of not being able to leave the house without all that paraphernalia of a coat. I know you feel the same. I'm glad you do. Yes, well, it's good to be able to air these things, isn't it? It's good to air this sort of particular story as well, because it does infuriate me on a more serious note, this, simply because you just come away thinking, why do people need to be so negative? And the reason about this particular story is, as you know, last month we enjoyed a spectacular second visit of the President of the United States. And this isn't political. I'm talking about really what it did for the economy, and how wonderful, in fact, to see all of that sort of, pageantry in action. When you're there and you're looking at those wonderful carriages that have been around since the 1700s, and you think, wow, they've got tales to tell. And the people that have travelled in them, and they never would have thought these particular individuals would have been travelling in them at that particular point. But the visit of President Trump to Windsor Castle, as I say, for his second official state visit alongside His Majesty the King, was terrific and did a lot of good for the country, certainly. And whether, as I say, you're a fan of Mr. Trump or not, the thing is, it put London, didn't it? It put the United Kingdom on the map. And let's be honest, there's not many people other than the royal family that can put on a show like that. But it's the aftermath that's very annoying. I remember I told you this particular story, apparently about how President Trump had left the rooms that he was staying in Windsor Castle in an absolute state. So much so, apparently, that there were tanning sheets left everywhere, rubbish, pizza boxes. And as I pointed out, the pizza boxes belonged to all the security staff. And the other side of the coin was that was already a designated area for rubbish. But consequently, somebody wanted to feed that through as a negativity. This particular headline is the second stage of that. Nobody can ever be happy for anybody's success, seemingly, can they? And this basically headline says that when the President and the First Lady, Melania Trump, were invited over to Windsor Castle, they had separate rooms. And what they're basically insinuating is that it's a sham marriage, it's a sham relationship. Now, I've often said this, nobody knows what goes on behind those doors. All I can tell you is what I find out, and working with those people who are very, very influential around this sort of story, I can tell you the true background to that. They did indeed have separate rooms, right? Now, here's the reason why. You see, when the President and the First Lady arrive, obviously there's all of the stuff that goes around. And President Trump has openly spoken about what an honour and a privilege and a thrill it was to stay at Windsor Castle. So why did they have two rooms? Well, it's quite simple. There was one room for the Trumps, of which, that they had a lounge, they had a bedroom, a bathroom, etc. And the other room, which was very generously put aside by His Majesty the King, was a room set up for the First Lady, Melania Trump. And this doubled up as a sort of excess wardrobe and makeup and beautifying area. I mean that nicely, right? And the reason behind that is, that obviously she had many outfit changes. As you can imagine, the President just more or less has the same sort of suits as myself and the dinner suit for the official dinner. Melania Trump, had different various things to do, including spending time with our wonderful Catherine, Princess of Wales, and naturally changed outfits, hairstyles, etc. That's the true reason why there were two rooms given, not the fact that they were in separate rooms as people are insinuating. And other than that, why did they need to do that to take away what was a really very successful visit? And more importantly, does it really matter? And is it anybody else's business? Either way, that is the fact. That is the true story. Neil Sean in the very heart of London.